Welcome back here to Mighty Mac on YouTube. The Charlotte 4-Way Nationals qualifying is officially over. We have a lot to look forward going to Sunday, as well as the ongoing tension going on within the 4 pro categories. We have a lot to talk about, so let's get into the video. But before we do, like I've been saying the last few weeks, if you enjoy the content that we're providing for you guys with the recaps, including the John Force video that I released last week, with the interviews, the storytime videos, and everything in between, be sure to subscribe to the channel today as we ramp up our coverage for the historic month of May, which includes the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500, the Indianapolis GP, and of course the Joliet-Chicago Route 66 Nationals. So if you like the videos that we're doing, be sure to subscribe today so you don't miss out on any of the coverage, as we have a lot planned for the next month as we get ready for the biggest month in motorsports. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So heading into Charlotte, the big story, of course, was trying to follow up what we saw back at Las Vegas. It was an incredible race top to bottom. It was an absolutely entertaining event, and going into Charlotte, you have a lot to live up to as we get ready to finish up our 2 4-wide national events. Of course, if you remember last year, the Charlotte 4-Way National of 2023 was, in my opinion, and still is, one of the best races of 2023. So heading into this track, which has already seen some massive speeds in the past, of course, most notably Mike Salinas' 358-mile-an-hour run, making history back last year. Going into this event, going off of what's happened back at the Carolina Nationals with that run, going back to what happened at the Charlotte 4-Way Nationals of last year, this track, which has been nicknamed the Bellagio of drag racing when it was built back in 2008 going into 2009, this track has a lot of hype to live up to and is already doing so, as going into Sunday, there is a lot to talk about going into there. Not only in Pro Stock Motorcycle with the ongoing war between the Buells and the Suzukis, not only in Pro Stock with the ongoing war going on between Elite and KB Titan, not only in Top Fuel with the ongoing points battle between about half the field over the championship, but of course funny car, which we're going to start a video today, between the top 4 drivers of the series, almost 5, could be even 6 by the end of this year. And that is where we're going to start the story with Bob Tasca III. Bob Tasca, back on Friday night in Q2, went into the session with a poor qualifying result after not being able to make it down the track in Q1 with a solid time. Goes into that round and bumps his way up to second behind John Force, who had just broken the track record. That run, which saw him bump up to second, set off alarm bells in NHRA, who questioned the legality of that run. NHRA tech officials went to Bob Tasca's pits and inspected the manifolds which the teams were using, and found that the color of the magnesium manifolds were different and deemed it illegal, as there is no modification allowed to the parts, despite Alan Johnson, who built the manifolds, telling Bob there was no changes to the dimensions of the manifolds, therefore no performance advantage for Bob Tasca. However, due to the ruling about the fact of no modifications, NHRA deemed it illegal. However, going all the way back to Gainesville, according to Bob, they had given their manifolds to NHRA to inspect after allegations arose after his 340-mile-an-hour run back at PRO shootout in Bradenton. NHRA took the then forced manifolds that they were using, which were also flow treated just like the ones that he has from Alan Johnson. And flow treating is when they clean the manifolds before testing the fuel flow for the teams to protect the machines that they use. For whatever reason, whatever Wilson manifolds used to clean them changed the color of the magnesium. According to Tasca, NHRA gave him back his manifolds without any issues or without any comments. His story now is, NHRA told him, "We gave them back, but we never told you they were legal." This has left Tasca Racing without any manifolds going into this morning. They not only told him you couldn't use them anymore, they ended up going back to his pits, and from what I understand, took all the manifolds. They have confiscated his manifolds and took them with him, so he had none to use. And he was about ready that if he couldn't even use those manifolds, he was going to pack up that car and go home. He was going to give up the Charlotte 4-Way Nationals because he wasn't willing to go out and go looking for somebody else's manifolds to use. He didn't have to look far, though, as a good friend of the Tasca Camps, Steve Torrance, ended up giving him manifolds to use. Not just any manifolds, the manifolds directly off of Steve's car. They took them off his car because Tasca didn't want you to use ones any fresh out of the box in case they damaged them. So Torrance gave the Tascas the manifolds off of his car, put them in his funny car, and adjusted it to whatever the team needs to use it for, and went out there, and boy oh boy did they make noise. We'll talk about that later. So this is going to be an ongoing story. If you remember back at Las Vegas for the Las Vegas Nationals, and Nevada Nationals, if you want to call it. There's already issues arising there, as at the heat of the battle for the championship, Bob Tasca ended up qualifying number one, had about 8 bonus points going into the Pomona Finals. NHRA then not only took away his Q1 spot, took away the bonus points he got from Q3, because allegations arose that the headers he was using were illegal. So NHRA inspected them, it found them to be a bit too wide, so they had to ended up throwing out that run and giving up his bonus points. That more than likely cost Bob Tasca a shot at the championship, because that changed how he needed to go into the event. It gave Hagen the jump he needed to be able to focus on what he needed to do, and it gave Hagen the chance to win his 4th championship. Even though that would have been a tough guy to beat anyways, you cannot deny that was a game changer for the championship in Funny Car last year. So now going to Charlotte, and a similar issue going on now. So this has been an ongoing story with this team of trying to face it, and of course, as soon as these announcements were made, there was already alarm bells going off, and people were already joking about Penske manifolds because of the ongoing issue with Team Penske over in IndyCar with the push to pass procedures. So this is just going to make this even better. This is still an ongoing story, but I can tell you right now, the task camp is not happy right now. This is going to be a huge story following up not only for Sunday, but of course with what ended up happening today, which we'll talk about later. So recap overall, Pro Stock Motorcycle, Gage Herrera had an unusual performance. Going into Q1, had a part failure on the bike, could not get the bike started, was not able to make a run, had to abort it. He ended up not being able to make that run, so therefore was 17th and actually not qualified for the event because of the fact there were 17 Pro Stock motorcycles on the property. They ended up finding the issue very fast, fixing the bike, got him out for Q2, but only qualified second behind Matt Smith, who had run a 6.681. So there was already some alarm bell set on, hey, there were changes made between the 6 weeks where they banned the red fuel that the Suzukis were using. Could Matt Smith finally have the advantage he needs to go run with the Suzuki Hayabusa's? Going into Saturday, again, Q3 was only able to qualify second fastest, was not able to improve enough to jump up to first. However, in Q4, man oh man, did Gage Herrera lower the boom, knocked the heck out of Matt Smith, and took the number one qualifying spot by about 100th of a second. A huge advantage for him going into Sunday. Steals it at the last possible second. Other things to look at as well. During the delay for Q3, which we'll talk about in a second, Angel Sampey announced during the delay that she is planning to be racing in Top Fuel by 2025. In an interview with Jason Galvin at the starting line, she said that, sponsor pending, she is planning to be running a Top Fuel dragster in 2025. So look for some stuff there. But of course, let's focus on what's going on right now in Pro Stock Motorcycle. Number one qualifier, like I said, Gage Herrera, 6.671, moves him up to the top spot. Matt Smith in second with a 6.685. Ellie Tonga third. Angie Smith fourth. John Hall fifth. Richard Gadsden in 6th, Hector Rana Jr. 7th, with Steve Johnson in 8th. In the bottom half, you're going to find Chase Van Sant in 9th, Kelly Klontz in 10th, Gianna Evaristo in 11th, Mark Ingwerson in 12th, Chris Bostick 13th, Ryan Ayler in 14th, Ron Torno in 15th, and Hector Rana making his first show of the season after DNQing back at Gainesville, a 7.537. He makes the show as E.G. Kawakami, the Japanese rider making his return to Pro Stock Motorcycle, DNQs, has not been able to make a clean run, not even make it past 60 feet before the bike quit on him. He DNQs from the event. But looking into Sunday, pair 1 for Gage Herrera, he's going to face up against Hector Arana, Steve Johnson, and Chase Van Sant. Second pair, you're going to find Angie Smith, Chris Bostick facing John Hall with Mark Ingwerson. Third pair, he's going to find Matt Smith, Ron Torno, Hector Arana Jr., and Kelly Klontz. And then you'll see Ellie Tonga, Ryan Ayler, Richard Gadsden, and Gianna Evaristo. In Pro Stock, looking forward to there. Matt Hartford, again, failing to qualify in Pro Stock. Second event that has happened. Has been a very poor start to the season for him. I believe he DNQ'd back at Pomona, if I'm correct. But man, this has not been the start to the season he's won after being third in the points heading into this event last year. He now finds himself struggling beyond belief, as now for the second time to kick off the season, he fails to make the show. Fernando Quadra Sr. in his final race in Pro Stock. He announced earlier this week that this was going to be his last dance after a very long career running in Pro Stock, which saw him have to backpedal because of the Hurricane Katrina, ended up coming back with his sons, and has built one heck of a team bringing forward back to Pro Stock with the Corral Boots Mustangs. That team has been looking strong all year long. Fernando Quadra Sr. took a step back this year in order to let David Quadra get in the car and focus on the boot business, then announced earlier this year that he would in fact be retiring, not only from the team, but retiring from the boot business, allowing his sons to take over and equally share operations of the business. On Friday, he got to perform, of course, the famous, I guess you want to call it famous after we saw last year, the historic Quadra Quad, where all four Quadras, Fernando Quadra Jr., Fernando Quadra Sr., Christian Quadra, and David Quadra, ran it down the racetrack in Q2. But sadly, is not going to make it Sunday. Fernando Quadra Sr. DNQs from the 4x Nationals on his birthday too. You gotta hate it. And then Greg Anderson, during his Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge race, Greg passed the line first in his pairing in Q3, but for some reason was not scored as advancing. Scoring went back to the camera and was reversed the call after Greg was deemed the winner after it was clear as day that about by half a car length he had won that pair. But then, as a final twist of it all, the run was then thrown out due to bypassing a safety device, which ended up removing him from the Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge while keeping his Q1 time that had him as number one qualifier heading into the final round of qualifying. And then, of course, Jed Coughlin Jr. continues to look like the guy to beat in the class as they move on to the season. Now looking through the rest of the Pro Stock qualifying order, Greg Anderson, number one qualifier, Christian Quadra rounds out second, Aaron Stanfield in third. Like I said, Jed Coughlin looking as one of the strongest competitors in the class. Derek Kramer with a top out qualifying position in fifth. This was where he started a really strong run for him after where he won last year, then ended up winning at Chicago as well. He now qualifies fifth. Jerry Tucker in sixth, Eric Enders in seventh, David Quadra rounds out your top half. Dallas Glenn in 9th, Fernando Quadra Jr. in 10th, Eric Latino in 11th, Troy Coughlin Jr. in 12th, Dave Connolly making a return to Pro Stock in 13th, Brandon Foster 14th, Mason McGahey 15th, and Sienna Wildgust sneaks back into the Pro Stock field for I believe the second time this season. She qualifies 16th. Larry Morgan is 17th, Fernando Quadra Sr., like I talked about already, back in 18th. Chris McGahey as well, DNQs from another race down in 19th. Kenny Delco, Matt Hartford, and Brandon Miller wrap up your field in Pro Stock. Looking at the brackets heading into Sunday, Greg Anderson is going to face off against Sienna Wildgust, David Quadra in Dallas Glenn. Jed Coughlin will face off against David Connolly, Dylan Kramer, and Troy Coughlin Jr. Christian Quadra will face off against Mason McGahey, Eric Enders, and Fernando Quadra Jr. And then lastly, Aaron Stanfield will face off against Brandon Foster, Jerry Tucker, and Eric Latino. In Funny Car, not too many highlights I have from there. Only thing I got is Dave Richards seems to be finally turning a corner, has had some strong runs down the racetrack, I believe back in Q2. He had made it all the way down the racetrack, but had that run ended up ruined because of the fact that the car set on fire. He was ejected when he got out of the car. But regardless, seemingly having a turnaround there. He's yet to reach that 3-second time, but that car was making it further down the racetrack, consistently looking like he could make full poles. After starting the season, I believe the first 3 races, he didn't make it on the track cleanly. As well, John Force, increasingly stronger as the season develops, set a new track record back on Friday night and continues to better his performance as he builds off of what was a disappointing 2023. Won the Pomona Winter Nationals this season when they finished it up in Arizona, and now enters Sunday as a number one qualifier at the track where beforehand I believe he won his last race. Looking at Funny Car qualifying, like I said, John Force, a 3.820 sees him number one qualifier. Bob Tasca III ended up second after finishing second last night in Q2, had the run thrown out, came back in Q3, I believe he qualified 5th in Q3, and then advanced to the Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge. And then, like I said, NHRA lowered the boom. Bob Tasca sent a warning shot. Like I said, that team was upset with how that whole deal transpired this morning. So they came out swinging. Not only did he beat Austin Proud, not only did he beat Paul Lee, and I believe Ron Capps was the fourth driver in that pairing, if I'm correct. But man, oh man, not only does he get that win, he runs a 3.834, bumping him back up to second, but runs a 3.3834 and breaks the speed record. So a huge turnaround for that team. They've been wanting to get up to that 340, and they are getting closer and closer to that mark. But I can tell you right now, that 3.38 was probably a very personal run to him, because he said both times when he got out of the car, the color of the manifolds does not change the performance of the car, and he won the Taco Challenge. Austin Prock finishes up in third, Alexis Jory in fourth, Ron Capps fifth, Matt Hagan in sixth, Paul Lee in seventh, Chad Green rounds out in eighth. Cruz Pedregon down there in 9th, Daniel Wilkerson in 10th, Blake Alexander 11th, J.R. Todd in 12th, Buddy Hole in 13th, Dave Richards in 14th, Jim Campbell 15th, and John Smith rounds out in 16th. No bumping going home. So nobody goes home, everybody races on Sunday. Looking at the pairings, John Forrest is going to face off against John Smith, Chad Green, and Cruz Pedregon again. Even in the four-way, John Forrest and Cruz Pedregon cannot separate from each other. Alex DeJoy is going to face off against Buddy Hold. Ron Capps will face up with J.R. Todd as well. Third pairing, you're going to see Bob Tasca III to face off against Jim Campbell, Paul Lee, Daniel Wilkerson, and Austin Prock. And my bad. Bob Tasca III is going to face off against Jim Campbell, Paul Lee, and Daniel Wilkerson. And then the last pairing is going to have Austin Prock, Dave Richards, Matt Hagan, and Blake Alexander. Lastly, looking in top fuel, Tony Stewart captures the top half qualifying result, getting more comfortable in that car as it got along. We saw it last time at Las Vegas, ran it all the way to the finals as a top half qualifying result here at essentially his backyard, as this is NASCAR country. A lot of NASCAR media are out at the track this weekend covering the event, of course, with Tony Stewart's longtime return to Charlotte driving a top fuel dragster. He's getting more and more comfortable with that car. He's getting quicker, he's getting faster. I'm telling you right now, that team is finding their footing, and it's going to be a problem as we get later in the season. Jasmine Salinas had solid runs this weekend. The team is starting to let more aggressive on that car, and it's showing in the time slips. We'll talk about that later. And then Clay Milliken qualifies 4th for the event. That team is starting to have the performance we expected at the start of the season. It kind of fell off after the performance at Pomona and how they just kept destroying parts, and now that team is starting to find their footing, starting to get comfortable again, and starting to really come alive as the season moves on to this throughout the early half of the 2024 calendar. Looking at the qualifying results, Doug Coletta, 3.691 season number 1 qualifier. Antron Brown finishes off 2nd. Justin Ashley in 3rd. Clay Milliken in 4th. Billy Torrance 5th. There's Tony Stewart up there in 6th. Sean Langdon in 7th. And Sean Reed with a top half qualifying result here in Charlotte. Very good result for that team. Looking down to the bottom half, Jasmine Salinas ends up in 9th. Steve Torrance back in 10th. Doug Foley in 11th, Josh Hart in 12th, Tony Schumacher with a disappointing ending in 13th, Dan Mercier in 14th, Brittany 4th with a really disappointing run in 15th, and Cody Cronin 16th, as Mike Bucher is the one odd man left out. He has not made a full pole down the racetrack. A 4.554 shows you that. And then lastly, looking into the top fuel pairings, Doug Coletta will face off against Cody Crone, Sean Reed, and Jasmine Salinas. Clay Milliken is going to face off against Tony Schumacher, Billy Torrance, and Josh Hart. And Sean Brand will race against Brittany Force, Sean Langdon, and Steve Torrance. And then lastly, Justin Ashley will face off against Dan Mercier, Tony Stewart, and Doug Foley. So Tony has a chance to get payback on Justin Ashley after the round 1 appearance back at Gainesville. So that was a mouthful I just said. We have some video highlights to go through. Let's look at how today wrapped up, and then let's look forward to Sunday eliminations.
They all leave on green. A 38 light for Gadsden, 43 for Herrera, 39 for Matt Smith. And at the finish line stripe, lo and behold, it is Gage Herrera with low ET of the meet, 6.67.1, wins the Too Fast, Too Tasty, and steals the number 1 qualifying position.
This time it's Jake Koffel Jr. in lane 1 that doesn't get off the starting line. And at the stripe, 650 with a 0, 210 miles per hour, and Greg Anderson goes to the number 1 spot in Pro Stock qualifying session number 1. The final quantiphony car. Not going to be Hagan. It's not going to be Capps. 382.03, 330 miles per hour, and John Force sets the track record here at zMAX Dragway and goes to the number 1 spot. 3.820 at 330 miles per hour. It's going to be 3 and 4. 369.1. Look at the speed. 337 miles per hour for Doug Coletta. And Doug Coletta goes 3.691 to steal it.
They all leave on green. A 38 light for Gadsden, 43 for Herrera, 39 for Matt Smith. And at the finish line stripe, lo and behold, it is Gage Herrera with low ET of the meet, 667.1, wins the Too Fast, Too Tasty, and steals the #1 qualifying position.
So Gage Herrera gets the first Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge victory for a Pro Stock motorcycle this year. Angel Sampé just put the medallion around his neck. And Gage, it took you guys a couple runs to really get all of this bike, but you did it in the toughest atmospheric conditions.
Yeah, I mean, you know, after Gainesville, we had a little fuel change. You know, tech department changed the rule on that, and we had to learn that. We did zero testing coming here. You know, Andrew and all the guys are, you know, they're best in the business for a reason, and it showed this today for us to run a 67 and to get this mission challenge, Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge. I mean, it's just a whole. You know, I gotta give the whole props to the whole team. You know, Revzilla, Motul, Suzuki, Gen 3 Hayabusa, Vance and Hines, all the guys back at the shop. This is for them, and we're gonna keep on going. So
we got to switch hats right now because now we're switching to that #1.
You know, Andrew and all the guys are, you know, they're best in the business for a reason, and it showed this.
We talked about the sun's out right now. It's hot. It's humid. It's gonna be worse tomorrow. How good does that set you up for your setup for work tomorrow?
I feel like it sets us up really good. You know, this is basically going to be the conditions I feel tomorrow. And, I mean, that pass I made right now, I made very little correction at all. So that's basically all the bike's got. And we're going to go in tomorrow with a lot of confidence and see it, just take it round by round.
They're off and gone, 21 and 23 lights. Erica was the quickest out of the gate. As they cruise down the drag strip, the parachutes are out, and the winner is Erica Enders on a hole shot. A 6:51.6 gets the job done, a 6:509.
So Erica Enders is our Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty champion. Angel Sampé, the brand ambassador for Mission Foods, just put the medallion around your neck. And Erica, it's been kind of a wild day for you. You got out of the car, didn't even know you won the final, and you didn't even know you were going to be in it until after your run.
Yeah, we won by default on that last run, but there's no way to say how on the time slip, right? So it definitely took us all 4 runs to figure out my JHD Milling Performance car this weekend, but you know, Maria and Randy at Skag have got a bunch of dealers here that we're super proud to have. I told Angel when she gave me my medal, I said, that's what I like to see, her in her fire suit. But we're thrilled for our entire organization. We got 9 cars this weekend, and I love what I do, Bruno, but thanks to Mission for putting this race on for us. And I didn't get to do this much last year. I'm having fun.
The 4 cars rocket off the starting line, and would you look at this? He may demand to be paid in magnesium. Bob Tasca III goes 383.4 at 338.34 to win the Mission Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge. Yahtzee.
Well, Angel Sampé, the brand ambassador for Mission Foods, puts the medallion around Bob Tasca's neck, and I got to tell you something, Bob Tasca's going to be excited to talk right now. Redemption for you, it was a struggle today, but it ended on the highest of highs at 383 at 338 miles an hour, Bob.
Yeah, vindication for my team, okay? You know, we walk in this morning, and it's some BS deal with the finish on the inside of a manifold. Again, I want to thank the Taurus family. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't even have a race car today because I'm not going to run apart just out of a box.
Redemption for you, it was a struggle today, but it ended on the highest of highs at 380.
Aaron Brooks, okay? We had to make some adjustments, some big fuel swings. That thing was out of control even. I knew it was fast. It anchored down. It was almost that 340 run. I promise those fans out there, that car will run 340 before the end of the season. Tacos tonight, baby. Yes, yes, yes.
No dice for Antron. And as they go across the finish line, Justin Ashley racks up another one. 3.701 beats a 3.74.0.
Justin Ashley picks up the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge. Angel Sampé, the brand ambassador for Mission Foods, puts the medallion around his neck. And Justin, we talk about consistency in the last interview. You were consistent on the tree, 44, 45, but you found a little performance. Where did that come from?
I don't know. I wish I could tell you. I'm not trying to keep it a secret, but we got to go back and speak to Mike and Tommy. But I do know one thing overall in terms of where it came from. It came from a lot of hard work. this started not only in Gainesville this year, but in the off season. We just want to do everything we can to win each and every round, whether it's qualifying, whether it's race day, or whether it's the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge. But I'm just so proud to be out here and represent Skag Power Equipment, all of Skag Nation, Phillips, Toyota, Mac Tools, Impact, Lucas Oil, Kato, all the companies that partner with us and put us in a position to be successful. So great job by our team. I'm along for the ride and couldn't be happier to pick up this win.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So that is going to wrap up the video from here. Again, if you like the content that we're producing, be sure to subscribe to the channel today so you don't miss on any action. Again, be sure to like, be sure to comment, be sure to share the video with everybody you know to get the word out about drag racing as we look forward to the month of May and, of course, the rest of the NHRA calendar. Be sure to follow me on social media pages down below, MightyMac03 on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. Be sure to, again, just subscribe to the channel. Show your support any way you can, as I've been posting updates all weekend long of the ongoing Charlotte 4-Way Nationals, and I've been posting updates on every single race that's been going on throughout the season. And, of course, be sure to fill out your drag racing bracket bonanza picks heading into Sunday. Be sure to sign up today. Again, a really fun game for you guys to play to try and get you guys involved with drag racing. It is probably one of the best games going on right now, and we're going to have probably, hopefully, some planned partnership with them heading into month of May. So again, subscribe to the channel, follow me down below, and until Sunday night, this is Mighty Mac, and I will see you next time.